Hello, my name is Ariana. I'm an architecture student of the Simon Bolivar University. This is my final project of my English 3 course. I have recollect for this work some important pieces of Venezuelan architecture to identify the elements I have studied the whole trimester, which are color, light, texture, rims, vertical and horizontal circulation, space, and scale. Each one represents by a specific example. The use of colors plays an important role in architecture, as the first impression of a building is the color composition of its facade. The compositional use of primary colors is encouraging and highlights the building, creating an interesting and an emotional response from the viewer. The colors of the buildings reflect the architect's intention regarding its relationship with the environment, form, context, structural elements such as the crosses of St. Andrew, in this case, and highlight in yellow, and identified by color seems to identify relations of space and distance, highlighting the parapets of the corridors and terraces with red, marking clearly, showing the horizontal connection throughout the project. The color breaks every impression of monotony. The colors used in the work are the primary colors, mostly used on a small surface and organized with the color white. Blue is used as an element of greater surface, not as much as white, but it represents larger scale parts that hold the large overhangs of the project. What makes this building a representative of the Venezuelan architecture is the reinterpretation that makes Pluto Vivas of the colonial house. The image of colorful architecture, which is white, the colors of the project, as well as the compositional formation of the central patio for recreation and enjoyment of the inhabitants of the building. Covered plaza, where the architecture of space highlights the art within her by the interplay of light and shade produced by the gaps in the roof and pierced walls, is the best example to discuss the proper use of natural light in architecture of the tropic like Venezuela, besides being an excellent social space for the university and the city of Caracas. The roof deck, older fragment, ensures the continuity of the project, with loose slabs where the different structural patterns meet. It changes in height and joints with the different buildings. In the covered plaza, these breaks let light rays become players in the space, which complement and reduce the strength of the light side of the yard. The artworks are accented with natural light from the openings in the roof framing them. In each hall, auditorium, cafeteria, or library, Villanueva experiments with skylights, wooden walls, gardens, courtyards, create a set of lights that enhance their space. Texture is a visual element that can also be appreciated through the sense of touch, using both hands at once or only visually. In architecture, building materials have multiple textures, in addition to the technical means to create from the qualities of each of these materials such as stone, marble, glass, concrete, polished metals, etc. Given the availability of materials in the environment, architecture reconciles different reasons to use one material or another. In most cases, the homes of barraques occur in low-income families, who build their own houses with materials of the place, and that is why they use barek, which is low-budget material that acts as a cement in the construction and a mixture of mud and straw. The final result also generates a very particular natural texture that is perceived when seen up close. On the other hand, when seen farther from the building, the texture generated by the bamboo interleaved with the clay generates an horizontal texture. Rim give movement to the architectural volumes and is therefore is an essential part that describes the architectural beauty on the basis of the proportion, size, and overall harmony of the parts that make up the building. In architecture, the rim is often given by the repetition of architectural elements from windows, columns, parasols, to simple floor textures or facade elements that generate rims and give identity to the project. The reason I choose the barrios to illustrate rims in the Venezuelan architecture is because they represent the type of city that gives identity to the city of Caracas. Rim is identified in the barrios depending from where you look. A seam from the front is perceived as the sum of elements arranged without any order of structure. It starts generating a disordered rim on the borders of the city of Caracas, becoming somewhat overwhelming, while an aerial view of the barrio shows the rim generated by the housing and is determined by the levels of the mortar. And is really a fluid rim of the volumes reconstructing the shape and form of the mountain. In architecture, the way we move around the building is a fundamental element of design. It's essential to develop a project and in some cases the main element that governs the spatial richness of the building. Central Park Tower represents the tallest concrete buildings in Caracas and one of the most emblematic. Beyond being a landmark for the city, its character as tall and slender makes it clear that there is a vertical circulation within them. The horizontal movement is represented in the colonial homes with long corridors leading to the courtyards and distributed to all areas of the house. They are a clear example of horizontal circulation that can be experienced along the building while discovering each space. In architectural spaces, the human scale is defined by the dimensions and proportions of the human body. The proportion of a building in relationship with a person is determined by the dimensions of the space and scale and how the architect wants the user to perceive this relationship between the constructive elements, the form, and the space left that the user occupies. In Caracas polyhedron arena, the external architectural image reflects the character of a monumental space, which is beyond the human scale, but inside the small elements that complement the space, like the stairs, the handrails, the seats, etc., is what gives the internal space the human element and can be comfortably used despite its monumental dimensions. Venezuelan architecture have more than one example of the perfect use of every concept we study in this course, because Venezuelan architects have worked on the Venezuelan materials like bareque, they have studied the light from the tropic, and they have made reinterpretations of our historical architecture like the colonial houses, etc. That's why we have particular and unique architecture styles.